Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Newman. So today I want to talk about, I guess, relative to what's happening for many people at the moment. 2024 has been a year that's been quite challenging for many people, having moved through all forms of grief and loss. I guess the word grief is becoming very popular now. When I was first in my work, no one really even acknowledged, but now even people are associating the word grief, which is relevant to all of our life experiences. So letting go, it can feel like a death. And this is what I want to talk about, the death of all the experiences that we might be letting go. So it can be the death of the egoic self, can be death of or letting go of people and relationships in our lives. It can be the letting go of low vibrational energy that's not helpful for us, like the limiting beliefs that we might hold about ourselves. Letting go of old stories, the stories that we hold on to that somehow give us some form of significance because we get attention from it, possibly. So significance can actually have an unhealthy meaning to it or energy behind it. It could be the letting go and loss of jobs, homes, people in our lives through actual death. And it could also be where we're experiencing imminent death of a family member. So I want to, one, acknowledge all of these experiences that you might be moving through, because when we can help normalize all of our experiences, one thing that I've found through all of these experiences is we also move through lots of experiences feeling unsafe, needing to protect ourselves, but it also leads to experiences of loneliness, feeling alone, feeling abandoned, disconnection, and isolation, and even invisibility. So this is what I'm talking about today. All of these experiences create the one experience of grief, where we feel like we grieve things that we've placed importance to within our lives. So with all that said, my name's Melissa Newman. I'm the founder of Rising Strong Holistic Healing, and I have this channel, including my Facebook channel, and hope to bring a sense of calm to all of your experiences, help you to feel normal in your experiences by just talking about these experiences. But today I will highlight most of the experiences in relation to the loss of a loved one, as I share a little bit about my experiences and how that is connected to either loneliness, abandonment, or a sense of belonging, or not having that sense of belonging, because it's all interconnected. And so, as I said, I can't say it. Society at the moment is experiencing a great deal of loss. And so this video, I hope, will help sort of calm your energy around your experiences, maybe give you a few little tips so that you can avoid any experience of loneliness or find ways to move out of loneliness. So all of these experiences for us all are shared, and that makes it helpful for us to be able to move through. So we're all going through something. And it's important to mention that, yes, whilst we're all moving through something, no one's experience is greater or less than another. It's all just a story and an experience that is generally encouraging us to bring something more positive into our lives. So Christmas time is such a time of challenge, shared challenge. It brings a lot of sadness and loneliness for many people. And this time of the year, many people don't feel joyous to celebrate. And there's lots of reasons for all of that. And I don't need to go kind of into all of that. But you might be a person at the moment feeling not so joyous about Christmas. Maybe you have now experienced the passing of a loved one. And so for you, as it was for me, uh, there can be that feeling of what is there to be joyous about. My beautiful son, as in my example, is no longer here. What is there to be joyous about that? It was also his birthday at this time of the year. So my son, he passed at the end of October, actually middle of October. So I had about 9 weeks before I was thrusted into what is called the first anniversary, or all of the anniversaries. We seem to make it quite significant, and they do feel in the first year when we're moving through grief and loss. That first year is a big year because those big moments that were always joyous, whether it's a birthday, a wedding anniversary, whatever the connection is or the anniversary is, those first generally are big ones, because it's the first time that you're going to move through that experience without your most beloved one with you. And so my Brett passed at the end of October, thereabouts, and I was thrusted into my first Christmas and his first birthday on the 18th of December without him. And so no, at that time, going back into 2017, I wasn't joyous, and rightly so, for you and me. And whilst I did have my other son with me, who came back to Queensland to live with me, or he didn't, yeah, he lived with me for, I don't know, a couple of months. I can't remember how long. Anyway, not important. Whilst my son was with me, our first Christmas passed us by quite solemnly. My son and I, we just kind of hung out together. Time stood still for us. There was a lot we actually sat by the fire quite a lot, actually, in the backyard. There was also a lot of quiet time, solitude, as in not a lot of talking was done. But that's the most beautiful healing, is when you can be present with someone and not have to talk. We just were, or we just, to just be, is often how people who are grieving need to move through that process, is to just be without any conversation, just to know that someone is beside you. And so whilst my son was moving through his own unique loss as a brother, I was moving through my unique experience of loss as a mother. And so time stood still. And so I get it. I see you. If this is you, rightly so, for not to feel joyous. But please know that in time, life does return, and more fully, and more fully. Anyway, this time of the year is challenging for many. I want to acknowledge that it's also challenging for people who actually have a lot of mental distress, people that experience and move through PTSD, depression, and all types of trauma. These experiences, whilst they're not chosen, and often these complicated experiences around PTSD or what it might be can be with the person for a significant amount of time, if not healed. And so this time of the year is very distressing for them. And I want to acknowledge you. My heart goes out to you because I see you in all of your angst and distress. And this time of the year causes the stress being so heightened, increases suicidality, the thoughts of not wanting to be here, because you're just purely wanting to not be here on this earth, but it's purely those thoughts is to end the trauma within our minds. And I see you, and I know this is very challenging for you right now. But we also have our elderly in our community that have often been estranged from their family, from their children, where family don't talk to them anymore. They feel, and there's lots of reasons. I understand there's a story to both sides to why that might be, but people are estranged, and it doesn't have to be that way. And one, it shouldn't be that way. But I understand it just is. And so, whilst many people, whether it's the elderly, people that have a lot of mental distress, and different types of experiences in that field, also people grieving, there is many of us feeling quite alone, feeling lonely, and maybe even abandoned. This then creates that disconnection and not feeling like we belong anywhere. And so all of this I know to be true because I see it in my work all the time. And I've had my own shared experiences of feeling either alone or abandoned, whatever it may be. And so I guess this is why I passionately write and share messages about all of this, is to help people, to help normalize this and these experiences for people. If we can normalize the conversations, whether it's around death, dying, grief, loneliness, abandonment, feeling estranged from family, then this normalization enables and allows people to heal, allows them to feel a little bit more seen and less invisible. So, with that all said, I wanted to share a piece of my writings, my teachings through my grief work with people to help people understand the stages of grief. I've written quite a lot in the different stages of grief, and abandonment is one of those stages. But it's not only abandonment because of, like the loss of or the passing of someone. Abandonment is felt in on many levels. And so I found it actually really fascinating, as I do with all my work, because I get really deeply involved with what message I'm bringing through in teachings, and found that abandonment was really closely connected or interconnected with loneliness, isolation, and invisibility. They are all interconnected with disconnection. And all of that then stems down to how all of those experiences is because we desire human connection and a sense of belonging. And so abandonment and loneliness are pretty much the same. Anyone experiencing this, especially if it's been for a prolonged period of time, it's actually important to know that it can actually pose a health risk to you, in the sense that then it can create long-term depression. And that's all coming from that lack of sense of belonging. And one thing I know about grief is that grief, the passing of a loved one, rips away that sense of belonging that we have to life. So when we think about that sense of belonging, if grief rips away that sense of belonging, what has been ripped from us? Well, what's been ripped from us is our egoic sense of self. It's the perception and the meaning that we have given to life. So we give so much meaning to everything in our lives, our house. If we have such deep connection to our home, when it burns down, there's this massive sense of loss and devastation. I don't see that having such connections to possessions like that is healthy, because we should be able to move through life and let go of all those things without experiencing devastation. But when our sense of belonging has been ripped away from us through the connection and sense of belonging we have with someone, that's the egoic self. I realized that myself in my healing over the years. Can't remember at what stage I had realized that, but that egoic sense of self was my sense of belonging to my son, my sense of belonging to my son as mother and a father and parents, and the roles that we have in this world. These roles do create significance for us. And so a huge part that was ripped from me was my ability to be a mother. Yes, I had my other son here, and I could still be a mother to him, but now I'm only a mother to one child, not two children. And that is quite devastating as a parent for anyone going through that experience. And I don't say that to say that my experience or anyone's experience that is similar, that it is better or worse than anyone's experiencing through grief and loss. But it does have a huge significance, as in from the mother to her children, because we gave birth. That connection is powerful, is so powerful, and plays a huge role in our sense of belonging. And so this egoic sense of self, this can be felt through all of our experiences that we feel we are grieving right now, because we've placed identity to people in our lives, the relationships in our lives, to our house, to our job, to our car. This is the egoic sense of importance that we may place on all these things, which at the end of the day, when we place importance on possessions, that's not really important at the end of the day, because what is important is our sense of belonging and importance to ourselves, and yes, in the important people around us, our family and friends, and those types of connections. And so what you might be going through is an egoic sense of self, that grieving of your identity to whatever it is that you might be grieving in your life. This is what I wanted to highlight a little bit, because it might enable you to go, oh yeah, all right. But what's important is, if this loss with this relationship's the big one, I guess. I'm always referring to that. Because many people move through our lives. If a relationship is not meeting you, and you are not meeting a relationship on a reciprocal level, where you are actually at the same level, meeting and showing up for someone as they are for you, And if you are losing yourself to that relationship so that other person feels better about themselves, then that's not healthy. That is not an identity or a connection that, I say should, it's not a great word, that is best to maintain. You might be okay with just enough is enough, or that is all you deserve. But I guarantee you, deep down, you will be seeking something deeper and more meaningful. So have a look at what it is that you feel that you might be grieving. What is it that you feel like you have lost? If you can identify that and connect to that and see if it's important or not, it might be easier to let go. So then when we move through all of these experiences, if we are letting go of relationships, we might be now experiencing a form or a sense of loneliness. And so a sense of loneliness can push us into self-preservation mode. If we're feeling we're getting into self-preservation mode, then that means we are protecting ourselves for some reason. Maybe it's because you never felt safe in a relationship, and so it's not safe to re-enter other relationships. And so if you're in self-preservation mode and you're experiencing loneliness, then that could be that if you're not willing to be vulnerable again, to allow new relationships to come in over a prolonged period of time, that protection of yourself and maybe stepping back from life and stepping back from people, that then over a prolonged period of time can create isolation. And that's when it becomes very unhealthy, because then you're starting to find that you're more and more removed from society, and that's definitely out of protection mode. And so it's important for you to be able to see what it is that you might be moving through. One, to prevent isolation, or if you are in isolation and feeling abandoned, then it's important for you to find new meaningful connections, and it will require you to be vulnerable, to move out of your space of safety so you can move into a place of safety, connected with other people. So then you have that sense of belonging. So it is important to identify that within oneself. If you're experiencing abandonment or loneliness, and find ways to develop the courage to reconnect, to connect, even when you feel unsafe to do so. You must find the courage to move out of protection mode so that you can seek the connection you desire, because we all desire human connection. It's innate within us all. And I could go on for ages, as I tend to get deep and meaningful. But it also, all of this links into invisibility. And so invisibility is defined as a function of disconnection. And that comes from a place of where a person can feel unacknowledged, they can feel ignored, or even disempowered. That was a lot of my experience, feeling disempowered without getting into that. But that disempowerment takes away a person's sense of importance. So that happened to me through my grief experience, because my son chose not to be here and ended his life. there's a lot of shame and stigma around that experience, and sometimes I can't even say the word because my work gets blocked for using certain words. But when someone chooses not to be here and ends their life, there's a lot of societal stigma. There was a lot of stigma within my own family who abandoned me, as in never to speak to me again. Although they had come back into my life, but still, what actually an important part of that process that took place was that my story of grief was not witnessed. It was not worthy to be witnessed by people in society and my family. And so I felt very disempowered. People took away that sense of importance where I needed to share my story. And so, whilst this, without getting into all of that, um, death and grief experiences are all unique to us all. It's different for every single one of us. And no matter what you might go through, it creates all of this lack of sense of belonging. And in fact, one of the most important processes for people that experience trauma loss is to have their story witnessed. We all actually need to have our story witnessed, whether it's by one person that's really close to us, or if it's within complicated grief, then sometimes group connection is so important, because group connection offers a very powerful healing experience. That's why we have groups for AD, for addiction behaviors, why we have like our people, Alcoholics Anonymous. These groups are very powerful for healing because it allows people's story to be witnessed and heard without them having to change who they are to share their story, but allows them to journey through their shadow parts of themselves as well, as I'll try to explain in a minute. I've got to start to wrap this up. So anyone who has gone through trauma loss feels invisible, as I did. And these people really need their story to be heard so that they can heal. And that beautiful way that enables that is the group connections, because as I just said, it allows for powerful healing experiences because it's a shared experience in that group environment, which is why I've created my group in Facebook. My private group is for people that move through death, dying, grief, and spirituality. All of it's connected. And so that safe space that I've created to enable people to heal, to grow, to share their experiences very safely, because it's a vulnerable topic, but to also not change who they are to fit in, but they can also belong to a group and belong to themselves and still hold their story as their story and move through it without anyone telling them how they should move through their journey. So genuine group connections allows for individuals to be who they are. It's based on a place of togetherness where all can communicate their thoughts and emotions and their needs very clearly and safely. People feel very deeply listened to, and then that allows them to belong to themselves and be a part of a group but belong to themselves. It allows everyone to find a sacredness in those two experiences, the belonging to the group and the belonging to self, because at the end of the day, we all have to belong to ourselves as much as we need to belong to others. And yet we only actually need a few quality connections to feel this sense of belonging. that belonging is something that we must practice, and it does require us to be vulnerable, to move out of our protection mode that has always kept us safe so that we can create the connections we desire. We must be okay with getting uncomfortable as we learn to be present with others without giving up who we are in the process. And so for that to also happen, we need to have a level of self-acceptance within ourselves. And that self-acceptance actually must be greater than the sense of belonging, because we need to belong to ourselves first and foremost before we can belong to others or feel that we belong to others, vice versa. And so if you are at this time of the year, to try to wrap my video up, if you're finding yourself this time of the year that you're feeling alone, maybe afraid of ending relationships, feeling lonely, not sure where your future is going, I just want you to know that your experience is actually your soul guiding you into something far greater. Never is easy to hear that when you're in the depths of the shadows and the darkness. But if you can, maybe this Christmas, do Christmas differently. If you can find a way to maybe do Christmas differently, take time out this Christmas, maybe find those group connections with people so that you can feel that sense of belonging. You certainly can do that in my groups if you're seeking that connection, because most honestly and truthfully, hand on heart, my group that I've created is for all people who are desiring to bridge the gap of disconnection and loneliness, who are rewriting stories through all of the experiences of loss. And I know my group will allow that and enable that and offer that to you. So if that is something that you would like to be a part of, follow the links, all the links that I'll put below. But I'm also organising a Christmas event. I'm trying to wrap this up now because the time's gotten away. You can also join my Christmas event where I do and am doing Christmas differently. I have not done Christmas the same since the day my son left this world. And actually, nor has my son, the son. And so I offer at this time of the year a space that is more gentle and less focused on all the hoopla of Christmas, so that we can come together with like-minded people and do Christmas differently and spend a day together in nature, with a few things that I've organised in that space. So a nature experiential journey, a remembrance journey, and just a really deep connection to ourselves and creating that sense of belonging. So that'll be in the link below to my website under retreats. But I suggest to you to seek otherwise a couple of good friends that you might be able to do Christmas differently with this year. Know that it's okay to allow 2024 to now come to an end, with the possibility that a brighter future is on its way for 2025. And it's okay to spend it in solitude if that is what your heart desires, and reflect and journey maybe where you might like to see your future heading. Whether it's with or without people that you once journeyed with, there will be beautiful people coming towards you. So take time out. Know that everything that you've gone through, you're not alone, and your experiences are in just encouraging you to be open to the potentiality of something new, something far greater, something far more enriching, valuable, meaningful for you. So keep your heart open, take time out, and always remember you must belong to yourself first. And when you belong to yourself, those deeper connections will open up to you. Trust in life. Let go of what your soul's encouraging you to let go of. Take time out and allow life to bring to you the new beginnings that you deserve. And you've got this. And hope you enjoyed this message. Namaste. Thank you for listening.